So you need a little help writing the Common App essay, huh? Well, if you give me 5 minutes, I'm going to give you 5 great tips that are going to take and make your essay so much better. At the end of that, I'm going to give you a link that's going to show you how to make a good essay great. So let's get started. The first tip to writing a better Common App essay is to share your hero's journey. So this is a personal question, right? All of these topics are asking something about you, how you've responded, what did you do, all of that. So you got to share that with them. But don't share too much. We don't need to know every step in how you bake a cake. We just need to know that, hey, I gathered the ingredients, I mixed them, I put it in the oven, and then at the end, I got this awesome thing, right? That's your story. You only have 650 words, so we don't need every detail. We just need an idea of what happened so that you use that, right? Your story is the vehicle, takes you from one thing to the next. We need to see how that went so we really get an idea of who you are. Best way to reveal who you are? Reveal some conflict. All of these topics lend themselves to showing some sort of conflict, but most importantly, it's not the conflict, it's how you responded, right? So, CTA, call to action. Was there something that you felt compelled that you had to step up? A kid was getting bullied, there was a problem with a teacher or a coach, there was an issue at school and you felt the need to rise up and do something, right, to make it better. That's a great one. Was there a time where you avoided conflict? Hey, you're just a teenager, you're growing up. It's okay to reveal that you need to learn more. And this was a terrific experience because I screwed up, I shrunk from the conflict, but now I'm gonna know next time I see that, I'm gonna know how to react. Or finally, hey, I lead a conflict-free life. And that's a problem because I recognize that I haven't done enough growing and that I need an experience like college to put myself into these small situations so that I can grow, so that when I go into the workforce and out into my life, I'm ready to go. So make certain that you reveal your conflict. Tip number 2 is to showcase your emotional intelligence. So this is a fancy buzzword that's been going around lately, and this emotional intelligence is you understanding who you are and what you have. So as I mentioned earlier, you're a work in progress. And it's okay to accept that. In fact, showing that you're a work in progress is revealing your emotional intelligence, as is recognizing your self-awareness. There are kids smarter than me, there are kids better than me. I'm also better than some kids, right? So knowing where you fit into that world is showing some level of emotional intelligence. Self-regulation. Hey, was there a time where you took the call to action, but maybe you went too far, you were too aggressive, you did too much? Okay, I recognize that. All right, I'm not going to do so much next time. Or, gosh, I didn't do enough and then I beat myself up over it for weeks, months, or years. Yeah, so you overdid it. Okay, so now as you're getting older, you're regulating. So that's a good level of emotional intelligence to reveal in your essay. Motivation. Listen, I have to self-motivate sometimes. Sometimes I'm human. I need someone else to motivate me. And then I'm also really good at motivating others, right? Another critical element, empathy. One of those things that happens as you get older, you've had more life experience, you recognize that there are times where you're going to see a situation that you've been in, that now you see someone else and that you can help them. And then finally, social skills. College is a very social place, and so this is going to be a place that you're going to want to say, I've gone through, I've had some struggles with friends, but I've figured out how to do that and work through those problems, and now I'm in a real comfortable spot. Those are going to be all great issues to show, to exhibit your emotional intelligence. Tip number 3 is to focus in on the rhythm of the writing. All too often, and I've seen this for years teaching English, that students, when they want to spice something up, they throw in a big fancy word. They run to the thesaurus. Often a horrible choice because you don't actually know how to use that word properly. So what I tell people is that your rhythm is more important than word choice. And if it's good enough for Nike, it's good enough for you. So too often, students will write long sentence, long sentence, long sentence, long sentence. Well, imagine if we were just to go in and vary that up. And maybe you put in a short sentence there to start something off. Just boom, hits them right out of the gate. Then you go through and you talk about the story, and then maybe instead of having a long, boring last sentence, we put in another short one. And if we think about Nike, right, one of the greatest marketing slogans ever is just do it. So if you take a look at a Nike commercial, maybe there's a little short snippet, then they're going to talk about the athlete's progress and everything they've done, and then the final scene is just maybe those 3 words, just do it. Again, good enough for Nike, good enough for you. Tip number 4, keep your focus narrow and personal. So you have 7 essay topics to select one, and you've got to write 650 words. 650 words goes by pretty quickly when you start really getting into all of these other aspects that we talked about. So make certain that you only pick one specific narrow part to focus in on in your life, whatever that is, and make certain that you make it very personal. You really need to reveal your soul. So make this essay as personal as possible, and think of this as therapy. You want to tell these people things that you would be bashful about telling your friends or your parents. Now, you're not looking to shock them, but you're really looking to tell them, hey, this is what I'm afraid of, or this is what I want to do. Any of these things are all going to be the best way to make your essay personal. Tip number 5, make certain you include an intriguing intro and a simple conclusion. You need to capture their attention, right? That is the most important thing. So you've always been taught, oh, have an attention getter, have something, a hook that's going to go through and really grab the reader's attention. Well, it doesn't have to be that fancy. It could actually be just the carving up of the words that you've selected, and then you position that first so it leads the reader to want to read more. That's all you need to do. You don't need to shock them. You just need that first sentence to capture their attention and have it be interesting enough to read more. So sometimes taking a sentence from the middle of a paragraph and putting that at the very beginning leads this, oh, it's an intrigue. What am I going to do? So after you've captured their attention, you write their story, you need a very simple conclusion. But make certain whatever you do not add more material to your conclusion. A conclusion is just a stop sign. It's letting the reader know, hey, I'm all done. As a reader, we want to be fulfilled, and we want that strong introduction, the story, and then that conclusion. All right, your bonus conclusion tip for today's video? Sometimes your very best introduction is your conclusion. So this is the thing that I've learned from years and years of reading and editing papers from my students, that when you start your paper out, you don't really know where you're going. And as you start writing and you start having all of these different ideas, towards the end, you really have a great idea of what your essay is about, and you write this killer conclusion. Well, what I've seen is the very best introduction that we can have is to take that conclusion, move it from the bottom to the top, and now you've got this killer introduction, but you've left without any sort of conclusion. That's okay. Again, a conclusion just needs to let the reader know you're all done and you're just summing up. It doesn't have to be this awesome thing. But if we don't capture their attention in that first couple of sentences, there's a good chance they may not read further. Okay, now that you have some strategies and tips on how to write a better Common App essay, let's dig into the first prompt. Some students have a background, identity, interest, or talent so meaningful, they believe their application would be incomplete without it. If this sounds like you, please share your story. All right, let's just get this out of the way with prompt number 1 was not a good one for me. I'm just not that interesting. I don't think I have a special talent. There are a number of things that I can do, but special and something that the school's got to know. I was just a run-of-the-mill kid, right? Played sports, was in student government, tried to get good grades, had friends, blah, 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 blah. So this is not a good essay topic for a lot of kids. However, there are a number of students that fit each one of these different aspects perfectly, and you should write about this. So if you have a background, this could be, hey, that I have come from another country, or I have a religious upbringing that is so different than, say, the culture that you're in. It's not bad, not good, just different, right? That's the critical thing. share that background. Explain what that is, but most importantly, share the struggles that you had, right? Talk about that emotional intelligence. How did it make you feel to be different? How did you work to overcome that? Your identity. Maybe you're a student that identifies differently than from other people. Share that story, share that growth, but make certain that it is very personal and very revealing. And there is often anguish and pain that is associated with having that identity and feeling that you are different, or your struggle to normalize whatever that is and whatever that means to you. Share that information, again, using that emotional intelligence, those couple of guides. You don't have to write about all of them, but if you include some of these, this is going to be very strong. If you have an interest or a talent. So what's interesting is that a number of years ago, I had a student of mine who was voicing characters for Pixar movies. He was the little kid in a very famous series that you would know. So he said that he wanted to write about that because that's his talent. And, I had to say, listen, that's not a special talent. They just had a voice, right? And you just got in front of a microphone, you just read, and he goes, no, you don't understand. I'm there and I have all these famous actors and there's all this equipment, and I had to perform, and I had to learn how to do my lines without making a mistake and being good. And if I screwed up, I had to get back on track. I didn't have a chance to kind of get derailed. I couldn't be a kid. I had to really grow up and be an adult because there were all these people and all this money kind of waiting on me. That was a great essay because his talent was not his voice. His talent was learning how to deal with pressure when he was just a young man, and dealing with that pressure then allowed him to work his way through high school and come up with a number of different strategies whenever he struggled with friends or a relationship or a teacher or a grade, right? He knew how to handle that stress. So what I often tell students, all you need is something very small. And from that, you can then weave out a really great story and make that bigger. So don't feel that your background, identity, your interest, or talent has to be this mammoth thing. It could be something very small, and if you approach it right way and use those tips that I talked about earlier, you're going to have a great, great essay. Okay, now that you understand the tips to write a better essay, let's dig into the second prompt. The lessons we take from obstacles we encounter can be fundamental to later success. Recount a time when you faced a challenge, a setback, or a failure. How did it affect you, and what did you learn from the experience? All right, first thing to recognize is that the lessons we take, and encounter can be fundamental to a later success. So what they're looking for, what the Common App readers are looking for, is a moment in time, or perhaps a series of events over an extended period of time. You don't need to elaborate on every single one, but we need to talk about something, some obstacle that you encountered one time or multiple times. And you need to talk about that. But you only have 650 words, so you don't get to write a full-length essay on this. You have to go into what I like to call the montage. And, you take a look at any sort of Disney movie or other movies, there's always going to be this montage where they kind of give little snippets from different scenes, and it gives you a context of what you're looking at. So from that montage, we can talk about different lessons and different experiences that you had over a period of time. And you don't have to spend too much in terms of word count on going through that, right, if we do this montage the right way. Now, here's the critical element. Setback or failure or challenge. Any of them are all equal. That's great, but really what they want to see is how did it affect you? And how did you respond? So, as I mentioned earlier in one of the tips, that you're a work in progress. We know that you're not going to always be perfect. And that maybe this one time you were perfect and you thought that, oh, okay, great, I'm going to be perfect every single time. And the next time, bam, you got nailed and you were not so perfect anymore. And it's like, okay, you start to doubt yourself. Great, reveal that. See, that's very human. That's very connectable, right? I can, as a reader, feel who you are. I got all your grades, I got all the test scores, all that. I want to know, what sort of human being you are. What's your soul like? What do you feel like? So if you tell me you struggle and you failed and you doubted yourself, that's great. But you're now on the process of improving that mindset, and failure doesn't come as often, and the doubt is not as great, and you're still working through that, and you know that you've got to improve this because this is not a moment in time. This is a lifelong learning experience. We want to make certain that what I start my story off, here's number one, and here's my second point, and here's my third point, and everyone goes, okay, cool, right? That's the end. No, it's not. Your life is not done when you get done with high school. Your life is not done when you get to college. Those are just steps along the way. So make certain that when you tell your story, that you say, hey, there's this whole other section that I'm going into that I don't know about, but this was a great experience because it gave me some skills in order to carry forward in my life and hopefully do better. Okay, now that you've got some tips and strategies on how to write a great essay, let's dig into the third prompt. Reflect on a time when you questioned or challenged a belief or idea. What prompted your thinking and what was the outcome? So we often think about this as this philosophical or moral dilemma, and that you question the existence of God, which can be a great essay. But you got to make certain that you don't talk about the philosophy and more your internal struggle, right? Or you question your parents and why, or you question a teacher, you question a coach. All of those things are all equal. That's the little secret about the Common App essay prompts. It's not so critical what you write about. It's more critical about revealing what's happened to you. So I'm going to reflect on a time when you questioned or challenged a belief or idea. This could be a small little point. And from that little point, I circle out and my concept gets bigger, because it's why did I think this way? But most importantly, what was my outcome? Because see, one of the things that happens with this type of essay prompt, whatever it is, you could question yourself, why do I always feel like I should quit? Why do I procrastinate? Why do I always feel like everything has to be perfect? It doesn't make any difference what it is. Again, it's that point, and then you start circling, you going from there. But what was the outcome? The critical part is that your story is never ending, right? You're going to start in one point. You're going to move to a midpoint. And then, unfortunately, everyone thinks I'm at the end. That's not the end. Your life doesn't end in high school. Your life doesn't end in college. You keep on going, and you have more experiences that you're going to go through. But what's important is that you had a belief that you did challenge, right? Because there are going to come across a time in life where you're going to have these moral dilemmas. And you're going to look back upon this time and say, okay, what did I do? What steps did I follow back then? And you know what? I was only 16 or 17 when I had to do that. Now I'm 19. I got a little bit more experience. Boy, when I come across this problem in college, I've already got one of these or two or three or four life experiences kind of in the bag that I can look back and say, I'm going to do this a little bit differently. I'm going to do it a little bit better, right? Whatever that is. The other aspect too, which is totally okay, is that you questioned a challenge or belief and you were wrong. You did this whole big exercise and you recognize, wow, I shouldn't have questioned it. That's okay too. Again, it's not what you're writing about, not this point, but all on how you've dealt with it, and that your outcome, you clearly recognize, is not done, and that you're a work in progress, and your life is going to keep on going and just simply getting better as you learn more. Okay, so now that you have some tips and strategies to write a better essay, let's dig into the fourth prompt. Describe a problem you've solved or a problem you'd like to solve. It can be an intellectual challenge, a research query, an ethical dilemma, anything of personal importance, no matter the scale. Explain its significance to you and what steps you took or could be taken to identify a solution. All right, so this is a lengthy one, right? There's a lot of words here. We only need to focus in on a few things. First, intellectual challenge, research query, or ethical dilemma. Doesn't make any difference. It could be something that you've come across and say, why isn't there an app for that? Right? And how I want to go about creating this app. Why isn't there world peace? Yeah, probably not the best one for this. Right? It's something that is a challenge that you're struggling with, that you want to deal with. And this, by the way, doesn't have to be in your major. So I find economics interesting, but oh, dear God, no chance that I want to be an econ major, right? My degree's in something completely different, but I do have these other interests, and it's okay to show the college, yeah, my major is going to be engineering or math or English or history. It doesn't make any difference, but I have these other cool things that I like to think about. So that's the first thing. Next thing, anything of personal importance, no matter the scale. So it could be something really small. And this goes in line with what we talk about for any of these topics. It doesn't really make any difference what you write about. It could be something pretty tiny, but what happens is as you write, the concept gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's what's important in all of this, is that you recognize that things are growing out from this one little instance, this moment in time. Now, explain the significance to you. My gosh, this is the perfect chance to weave back in that emotional intelligence component. Again, you don't need to write about all 5 of those different emotional intelligence components, but throw in 1 or 2, because this is going to show you, hey, this is significant. I have more to learn. I went too much, but now I've regulated. I'm motivated to do more, whatever it is. And then finally, explain the steps that you took or could be taken to identify a solution. So this is almost a trap, right? Everyone wants to go through and say, well, I'm going to do this and this and this, and this is how I'm going to solve world peace. Again, that's not what's critical. What's critical is that, A, I identified a problem. I decided to do some research. I talked to some people. I researched online. You know, you could watch some YouTube videos like you are now, but whatever. But show that you have a couple of different things. You relied on some caring adults to guide you in the right place. And then from that point, you started to think about it. And you started to try and make this part of your life, and that's what became interesting to you. So they want to be able to see that you're someone who isn't just a channel surfer, right? A channel surfer just is looking for the next best thing. What this essay is allowing the essay reader to see is this is a kid, when they find something interesting, they can really dig in. And that's what they hope is going to happen once you get a hold of some education, is that you're really going to dig in and this is going to be interesting to you. And from that, that's revealing more about who you are as a person. And it's allowing them to connect to you and say, yeah, this is a kid that I want on my campus. Okay, so now that you have some strategies and tips on how to write a better essay, let's dig into prompt number 5. Discuss an accomplishment, event, or realization that sparked a period of personal growth and a new understanding of yourself or others. So, as with all of the prompts, what you write about is really not as important as the process for what you went through, how you felt, any sort of struggle that you came across. That's what they want to see. They want to see that you can reveal that you're human. Right? You're in that touch with that emotional intelligence that's so critical for these essays. So discuss an accomplishment. I set the school record. My team won the section championship. Okay, big deal. A lot of kids do that. But what was the understanding of yourself once you did that? Was there more pressure put on yourself after you set that record? Or in the attempt to set the record, did you put tremendous pressure on yourself? Did you recognize how motivated you could be? What happens if you had a failure along that way? You had a bad game, a bad race, in the midst of a very big piano recital, you just blew it, right? You froze. How did you recover from that? This is all this concept that really is, it's sparked a period of personal growth. And so you have to recognize failure is a wonderful teacher. So we all like to have the success stories. But if we think about, and we talk about this hero's journey, we think about all the, I use Disney movies because they've got a lot of this, but we see the hero fail. And then we see the hero doubt him or herself. And then we see the hero kind of struggle to get back in the game. And then all of a sudden, the hero succeeds, right? You know, there's a big level of success at the end. Now, that's fantastic if you have that big level of success, right? That's an uplifting movie. But you know what's just as fantastic? Is that you recognize that you're not a success yet. But you're not going to stop trying. You're going to keep on going. Success is your goal. But you're still in the middle here. You still are doing things that you still have to keep working. And that this is a never-ending story. And that, hey, I tried, I failed, I got up. You know, famous proverbs in almost every single nationality is fall down 7 times, get up 8. Right? So, hey, this was my period of personal growth, is that I recognized failure's normal. Everyone's going to fail. We're human. But it's, what did I do? How did I come back and beat that? And what do I now get this sense of I can accomplish anything? And the reason that's so critical is that when you get into college, you're going to have a failure. You're gonna blow an assignment. You're gonna have a bad project. You're gonna screw up a test. Hopefully not a class, but if that happens, you've got to recover. You might have a bad roommate or have a bad relationship in the class. With your teacher or whomever. And what did you do? How did you recognize how to overcome those steps? So revealing all that is what's going to give you this personal trait that the reader is going to be able to connect to, and they're going to say, this is the kid I want on my campus. Now that you have some tips and tricks and strategies to write a great essay, let's dig into prompt number 6. Describe a topic, idea, or concept you find so engaging it makes you lose all track of time. Why does it captivate you? What or who do you turn to when you want to learn more? So, as with all of these prompts, what you have the issue with is not as meaningful as how you went about conducting your life during the problem and at the end, and what lessons have you taken in moving forward. So describe a topic, idea, or concept that you find so engaging makes you lose all track of time. Hey, this could be that you love computer programming, or it could be that you love watching football. You love staring out the window and doing absolutely nothing, and how you get this tremendous sense of relief, right? What is it that you find so engaging that you just lose all track of time? So put that. But you don't need to go and spend 600 out of 650 words describing what that is. You make certain that that portion of your topic is pretty small, and it's everything else that you write about that's critical. Because what they want to see is, why does it captivate you? What or who do you turn to when you want to learn more? So what they're looking for here is that you're not just someone that has these passing thoughts. Oh, that's cool. Oh yeah, that's cool. Right? That's what a channel surfer does. Just click, click, click on to the next thing. They want to see that you have this capacity to find something interesting and engage into it. And then you actually enjoy it so much, you went and studied more. So yeah, I went and watched a couple YouTube videos. Okay, that's easy, but that's not really engaging. So maybe you say, I started off with a couple YouTube videos, then I started to do more research, then I went and talked to teachers, and I talked to, some other people that had experience in this. Then all of a sudden I wanted to put all this together. That's the sort of stuff that they want to see. They want to see what sort of personality you have, and if those traits that you possess are then going to eventually be very, very good to help you work your way through college. Because what's going to happen is you're going to find yourself a major. And the major that you put down to enroll and hopefully get accepted into college is most likely not the major you're going to graduate with, right? Most kids actually change majors a couple of times. So don't feel as if, hey, I'm a failure for me changing my mind. Because quite honestly, you don't know enough about yourself or the world to maybe pick today what you're going to do for the rest of your life. So go into college, figure things out, but you're in the meantime, you're going to have some ideas that are pretty cool. And you go, oh, I really like to do that. If you're not this sort of person, if you are a channel surfer, if you do just stare out the window, maybe this is not a great prompt for you and one of the other prompts will be better. But what's most critical for you here is, why does it captivate you, right? That's the thing. And so if we go back to those emotional intelligence concepts, what is it that you find yourself? Do you find that there's something that you're missing and that's why you're drawn to it because you're looking to fill that hole? Or do you feel that you have this overabundance of something and you feel so good and so powerful about it that you want to share more of it? So there's a lot of great emotional intelligence aspects that you can incorporate that will help you write a really great essay for prompt number 6. Okay, so now that you have some tips and some strategies on how to write a great Common App essay, let's dig into prompt number 7. Share an essay on any topic of your choice. It can be one you've already written, one that responds to a different prompt, or one of your own design. So this is an essay topic that I feel can be very dangerous. And one of the reasons I feel it can be very dangerous is that there are students that will write an essay topic for the University of California school system, right? You've got to write 4 350-word essays on that. And some of the topics are pretty similar. And so sometimes students will just take and try and adapt that. Even though it's not exactly the same, they'll just throw it in there. Sometimes the Coalition App essay, people will grab and just throw one in for Common App essay number 7. I have no proof about what I'm going to say is actually true, but from a human kind of standpoint, I think you might understand it. That if I'm reading all these essays and I see kids kind of revealing their soul on prompts 1 through 6, and showing their level of emotional intelligence, showing all that, and then all of a sudden I see this really cool essay written on prompt number 7, but probably written for another school, I would think that that school says, listen, this kid was maybe not serious enough to write their own essay on one. We gave them 6 great possibilities and they still had to throw in something else. So that's my caveat. That's my fear if you just go ahead and try and take the easy way and just throw in for prompt number 7. Again, I don't have any proof, but that's just the way that I would feel as a human being, right? If I'm trying to find the best applicants for the school, I want someone who's really committed into going and is going to write an essay. If, however, you do plan on sharing an essay on any topic, one that you've already written or one that responds to a different prompt or your own design, okay, here's a great place. But let's think about this. Prompt number 7, just like all of them, we got 650 words to use. And all too often what happens in this prompt, more so than I think some of the others, is that people will spend so many words, right? They'll spend 600 words describing what it is that they've done, and then they only have 50 words to maybe talk about their level of emotional intelligence. It's tough to write a great intro and a great conclusion and show that emotional intelligence when you only got 50 words to spend. So be very careful on this one. This is one where I think that this part gets out of control for you, and I don't want to see that happen. Now, if you do try and combine a couple of different prompts, or you come up with one of your own, make certain that the focus is one thing. Make it narrow, because again, you don't have a lot of words to spend. When you start 650, it feels like a ton, but honestly, it goes by quickly. And so from that standpoint, make certain that whatever you do, you make it narrow, make it personal, and keep the focus always back on, hey, this is how I've responded, and these are the lessons that I'm going to learn in my life and I'm going to take forward into your university. Okay, Thanks for checking out my video. This was just a start. This is a great way to improve your essay, but if you want to take your essay from good to great, make certain that you check out the essay that I have on how to write a great Common App essay. Good luck.